video games, making them far more likely than any other group to be victimized. And more than half of the African American characters are quote-unquote unaffected by the violence exacted upon them, with only a fraction exhibiting both pain and physical harm. So we might be tempted to dismiss all of this violence as just happening in virtual reality. But to do that, we'd have to ignore the fact that the line between virtual and physical worlds has been completely blurred in the last 10 to 20 years. And the fact that from the moment we wake up in the morning to the moment we go to sleep, we spend so many hours in virtual realities, in Facebook conversations, in Twitter and Instagram interactions, and the list goes on, so that what people think and feel in the so-called real life directly impacts and is impacted by these screen-mediated social relations. In other words, virtual worlds represent and shape our imagination, including what we value and desire, and what we fear and what we hate. So the fact that the lives of Black women continue to be valued less and our deaths considered less tragic on the screen both reflects and shapes devaluation in our everyday lives. So some of you might recall that on opening weekend of the movie Hunger Games, many white fans took to Twitter in order to express their disappointment that one of the characters they had come to love in the book version didn't match their imagination. That their beloved Rue was, quote, a blonde-haired, not, quote, a blonde-haired white girl with whom they could relate innocence. So this set off a string of vehement tweets from fans, with one writing, "Call me racist, but when I found out Rue was Black, her death wasn't as sad." Well, hold that thought for a minute. So let's shift from this virtual to physical. Because what I'm insisting upon is that the same attitude towards Black life that we find in those Hunger Game tweets is what allows, for example, the city of Boston to choose the predominantly Black neighborhood of Roxbury as the place to put 12 out of 15 of the city's trash transfer stations, letting off all kinds of pollutants into the air so that the asthma rates in this one neighborhood are exponentially greater than in other parts of the city. So when we see Black video game characters unaffected by the violence exacted upon them, and we see white fans unaffected by the death of a once beloved character because she's Black, and we notice city governments indifferent to the Black children forced to breathe in toxic air, and when we notice DJs who think it's okay to play misogynistic music in the one place on earth dedicated to the health and well-being of Black women, in all these cases, a particular script or norm or policy has been written by those who don't seem to lose sleep over the denigration of Black life. So as my BU colleague and Holocaust survivor Eli Wiesel said, the opposite of hate, the opposite of love is not hate. It's indifference. The opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. So if we've been looking for the hate, thinking that's the only thing we need to be worried about, we need to attune ourselves to the indifference. And this is why it's so urgent that we in this room stop simply playing the game, but rather flip the script and hack this unjust social system. Our lives and the lives of so many others who will never, ever have the chance to sit where you're sitting today depend on it. In the words of the brilliant and incisive poet-scholar Audre Lorde, if I didn't define myself for myself, I must, then the counterfactual is, if we define ourselves for ourselves, we will be liberated by our own vision of our lives, and we will thrive. Can you say it with me? If we define ourselves for ourselves, we will be liberated by our own imagination of our lives, and we will thrive. Spelman College, it's worth repeating, is one of the few places on the planet that strives to provide a nurturing environment for us to define ourselves, for ourselves. And this defining, I might add, is taking place as I speak. In the form of a petition by members of the Spelman community who want the college to live up to its promise by letting Market Friday DJs know that the music with misogynistic lyrics are not welcome here. I don't care if you tell me the DJ is Gandhi. Involves identifying viruses in the current system that make us sick and programming alternative imaginaries than the ones written by others. Our collective well-being depends on debugging persistent forms of violence and inequity and creating new things and new practices and new forms of life. We need in every community a group of angelic troublemakers. In the 21st century, hacking and programming must be understood as forms of speech. And when this